Are you ever playing a video game and you think to yourself, I wish my pad controller was a mouse? Well, I think this is about as close as we've got so far. This is the GameSir G7 Pro, the AIM Labs edition for Xbox, which means we get a bunch of vouchers in the box as well as this cool green color, which is made to match the AIM Labs color scheme. So I'm going to talk to you about the features of this controller, how well they work in terms of emulating a mouse, but also a little bit of testing of this D-pad to see whether it could also be used for fighting games. Just a quick disclaimer before we start, this controller was sent to me for the purposes of making this video, but I was not instructed to say anything specific about it. All opinions are my own, and I don't have to send it back at the end. Alright, there are quite a lot of features on this controller, but I want to point out the most important ones first. So the reason I've got Cooking Simulator up here is because this is about as close as I get to actually playing something in first person, but I have always really disliked playing this game on a pad controller. Even on the Steam controller with the trackpads, I just cannot get used to it. But the thing I like the most about the GameSir G7 Pro is that you can choose a button. I've chosen this back button, and when I hold it down like so, I actually get motion control in the game, and it's really nice and accurate. So if I hold this button down here, I can actually move around, aim for things like this knife, so I can use the gyro to pick up this board, and then I can go straight back to using analog sticks to move around nice and smoothly, pick myself up a trout, close this door. When I want to choose exactly the right position to put this on this table, I can use the gyroscope again. And if I were to do this with the analog sticks only, you would have to, it's really quite annoying. You have to like move this around, chop a little bit, and then you have to like slide it over, chop again. But if I use the gyro, again, if I just press the back button, which I've got set here, then I can actually move this around, chop, move it a little bit more, chop. It's not like full VR or anything. I still have to use the shoulder buttons in order to change the angle. But at least for the position, I can actually change things using the motion control. And even when I'm just trying to put this knife away, if I use the analog sticks, it's just a real hassle like aiming. I keep going around the thing and like I'm trying to press the button. I just press the back button here and I can just aim it exactly the way I would with a mouse. There's no like acceleration or anything. I just go straight down here, click it in, and it's done. Alright, I'm in Forza Horizon 6, and the reason I'm in this game now is because I want to show you the next feature, which is quite cool, is that this is an Xbox controller, and so unlike the PC version of this controller, it has 4 vibration motors in it, which means there's one down here, but the other 2 are in the shoulder triggers, which gives you something like, apparently, the Xbox dynamic impulse trigger system. Basically, there's a vibration motor, and as you push on here, it starts to vibrate a little bit, and then as you push harder, it vibrates more and more. It gives you a bit of haptic feedback. It's supposed to be a bit like the adaptive triggers on PS5. It's nowhere near as good, but if you're looking for an Xbox controller, and you're not using an official Xbox Series X controller, this is something that gives you all the features of the AIM Labs GameSir controller, but it does have that Xbox vibration when you push on these triggers. If I'm playing a racing game, this is, as close as we're going to get to something like adaptive triggers on a game like Gran Turismo 7. If you don't want to be playing on your PlayStation for whatever particular reason you're trying to avoid your PlayStation, it is admittedly not as good as adaptive triggers. But, it's nice, especially, and I'm not even playing on an Xbox, I'm just playing on PC. Having that dynamic impulse trigger kind of feel and getting a bit of an experience of that has been quite nice. I actually didn't know that you can't change the time of day and the weather like by yourself in Forza Horizon 6, so here I am shooting this video. I thought it was going to be a nicer day. It turned out to be a rainy evening in Tokyo, but actually, in a way, it might actually be kind of nice because, I don't know, this is something maybe you don't get to see as much of in video footage of Forza 6. Anyway, I have really enjoyed using this controller. It's just that it's not as good as adaptive triggers. I like it. It's just that I wouldn't want to play like this for more than 10 minutes. After like 10 minutes of driving around with these vibrating shoulder triggers, it got kind of old. I guess the other thing I can show you while I'm in Forza is that it does have very nice TMR, tunnel magneto resistance analog sticks. So they're very proud of the fact that they've got analog sticks in here that will not end up with stick drift because tunnel magneto resistance, presumably they can just reset them and recalibrate them so that you don't end up with any drift issues. And the final thing I'll say about the analog sticks while we're here talking about them is that you can remove these covers. I think maybe you can get other different options for these covers from the GameSir website. They pop off. It's not very elegant. Like you literally just pop them off and it just feels like you're squeezing a piece of plastic on here. There are no magnets in it like some of the other controllers I've seen. You literally just pull it off. There's just a bit of plastic resistance like squeezing it on. Alright, and now we are in Street Fighter 6, and the reason I'm showing this to you last is that this is not meant to be a fighting game controller. The whole point of this really is for people who play FPS games. You've got these really nice analog sticks for that sort of thing. You've got the Aim Labs branding with the green on here. You've got these back paddles on here that you can also use to control the mouse. So the fact that you can play fighting games on here really ought to be considered a bonus. And here's the thing is, I don't really like this D-pad for fighting games. So I want to make a very big point that you're not supposed to play fighting games with this pad controller. You can, but it suffers from pretty much all the normal stuff that you would expect. You've got your left, your right, your up, and your down. And the first thing you'll notice when you pick up this pad is that it does have clicky switches inside. You can take off this faceplate if you want to. There's not a whole lot you can actually do underneath here apart from taking off this D-pad cover. And it comes with two other D-pad covers. The first one it's installed with is a complete circular D-pad cover like this one. You've also got a circular D-pad cover with a few ridges like this. And then you've also got this straight ahead normal D-pad. Honestly, it made almost no difference which pad I use. I thought maybe that could mitigate some of the issues, but unfortunately, no matter which pad you use, it skips the neutral down input. And actually, this affected me more in Street Fighter than it ever has, and it's because it has such a clicky D-pad. So when you're doing normal stuff like just pressing down and an attack, or just jumping and jumping up and then jumping forward, or crouch blocking, or doing something like a low attack and canceling straight into a tornado kick or something like that, it feels really nice to have a clicky D-pad at first. But not all clicky D-pads are made equal. It really is designed to feel like a mouse. Let's say you're down here and you're crouch blocking and you're like, okay, now that I'm done crouch blocking, I want to go into a fireball. Sometimes it will skip the down input. So you can see here it went from crouching down and then it actually did press my down input and all of the inputs I needed to do my fireball. But if you do it really quickly, it just misses it. You can see it goes from down back straight to down forward, and I end up with down forward punch instead of down forward forward punch. I used to show another game called Under Night In-Birth because that was more common for this sort of thing. You're normally pressing down and forward, then you need to like roll into a tatsumaki like this, and if you do it nice and slowly, it can come out like this. But if you do it really quickly, you get nothing. You just end up going from down forward kick to down back, and then you don't actually get the down back input. So skipping neutral down is the first main issue with a D-pad like this, which is basically all just micro switches. And for anyone who doesn't really understand how it works, basically I'm pushing down these two micro switches, and then as soon as I press these two micro switches, there's no moment in time when it's only pressing the down micro switch and not also pressing one of these side ones. So you go straight from down forward to down back. And for someone who doesn't play fighting games, an engineer might think that this is how D-pads are supposed to work, but really on an arcade stick, this would almost never happen because you move a lever through the directions. All right, that's a little more information than you might have needed to know about the engineering of down forward to down back inputs. The second way that this can be a little bit frustrating, and I found it really frustrating on here because of these micro switches, is when I'm trying to do a dragon punch, which is forward, down, down, forward. Those three inputs, and I can do this, which is a dragon punch. But I often found when I tried to do it really quickly, like I'd get nothing. I'd get forward, punch. And I was like, where was my down input? And what happens is you press forward, and then if you lift off completely, press down and then down forward, you get all three inputs. But when you're doing it really fast, you just go forward, and then when you try to rock your thumb down to down, you actually never let go of the forward input, and what you end up with is the forward input and the down input being pressed at the same time. And so instead of forward, down, down, forward, you just get forward, down, forward. There's no down input again, so it's skipping the neutral down input, but for a completely different move this time. And it's just as disastrous because you try to do it really quickly, and it's just like, wait, now why am I just doing a crouching punch? I wanted a dragon punch, and I missed so many dragon punches because of this controller. What this controller aims to do, no pun intended, what this controller aim labs to do is actually, be quite good for FPS games. And I'm not testing it for FPS games, but in something like Cooking Simulator, I found the accuracy was way good enough that I could just use the gyro in here to play what normally I would need to play in VR or play on a mouse and keyboard. So I absolutely loved the gyro in that. that, but I really did not like the D-pad for fighting games. Alright, now that we've been through the most exciting features of this controller, let me go through pretty much everything else. It's a pad controller with the Xbox layout, and it's actually designed to work on Xbox Series S. So if there's like a slight price increase compared to some of the other controllers you might be seeing, it's probably because it's an official Xbox controller. Now there's another controller just like this one. It's the endorsed by AIM Labs controller, but it's not the Xbox version, and that one has like an 8,000 hertz polling rate. This is the Xbox version. It has a 1,000 hertz polling rate. Or you can set it to 500, or you can set it to 250 if you're having like jittery issues in your games. Now in US dollars, it's the same price on the GameSir website. It's $89 at the moment for both versions, so they're the same price. Now because it is officially endorsed by AIM Labs, it also comes with these coupons. The first one it comes with is this. It's the AIM Labs Plus code, which gives you 1 free month of AIM Labs. I know nothing about AIM Labs, but I assume that you can like point your crosshair at various targets and get really good at FPS games. So if you're interested in that, it does include a 1 month free subscription to that. And because it's an Xbox controller, it also comes with 1 free month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So yes, the street price of this controller is $89, but it does come with a free 1 month sub of AIM Labs. I also want to talk about the fact that the mouse emulation can also be set to analog stick emulation. It's not just mouse input within the game. You can actually use it to just navigate windows. It's really cool because you can actually just use this controller as a sort of virtual mouse on your PC setup if you're like sitting far away from your PC. So that's quite cool, but if you're playing a game that doesn't have mouse input, you can actually just use the gyro to emulate the controls on the analog stick. So the customization on this controller is actually quite impressive. And one thing that this controller does really well is that it actually lets me deactivate buttons. Now there's a lot of controllers out there that allow you to remap a button, so it's like L3 is on here, but it's also on a back button. As a result, it means you can't actually use it in a Capcom Pro Tour tournament because they don't let you have a single offensive action attached to multiple buttons. You would have to actually deactivate the buttons. Some controllers don't allow you to do that. Using the software that you can download, you can actually go in and say, I want this button to not actually physically do anything. At the moment, I've got this button set to do nothing. Now, in addition to the fact that it allows you to deactivate buttons and become tournament legal, the other amazing thing that GameSir does that I'm seeing not a lot of other controller makers actually do properly right now is it has an actual app that you can download and use. But a bunch of companies these days are making interfaces that they think are easier because you don't have to download the app. It means that you have to be on their website, so you have to connect to www.gamecontroller.com/setup tool, which you never know when they're just going to give up on that setup tool and not make it available anymore. But secondly, when you're at a tournament, it's like, does anyone have a laptop with an internet connection that I can set up my controller? Everyone's going to look at you like, what are you talking about? So the fact that it allows you to download an app to your computer and actually do the setup in there is great. The app itself has a lot of customization. There's so much customization you can do inside the app. But the next thing that is just amazing about this app is that it's on the Microsoft Store. Now, I don't think that automatically means that the app is perfectly safe, but especially when you're going through a lot of these controllers where it's like, I have no idea where the controller came from. Sometimes it's in a completely different language, and a lot of things like just look kind of sketchy, and they're like, needs to be run with system administrator privileges. Sometimes it can all get a little bit sketchy. So the fact that the app was just downloadable through the Microsoft official store on Windows 11, I was like, that's great! So definitely kudos to GameSir for having that sort of thing set up properly. Now for plugging this into your computer, you can actually plug it in wired, which is what this weird thing is here. I'll just show you. This is actually a cable protector, I think. So this is where the USB port is, but if I put this cable protector on it, as you can see, it prevents the cable from like getting bent. At first I thought it looks a little bit silly, but actually even when I'm not using the cable, I like having this here because, I don't know, it makes my controller look like it's got some kind of hat or a mouth. But as you can see, I'm not using it wired at the moment. I'm actually using it wireless, and there are 2 wireless modes. You've got Bluetooth on the left, and you've got the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, which it does come with, and you can store it inside the base. Unsurprisingly, this base looks like a lot of the other Chinese controllers you've probably seen. I wonder why that is. Plug it in like so when you're not using it, that way you won't lose it. And this is the charging stand, which also comes with the AIM Labs branding. If you really love AIM Labs, I guess people must be really passionate about it if they want a whole controller themed on the color of AIM Labs. For me, The color and design of this controller is less about being aim labs and more that it just reminds me of the iMac G3. It's actually not that common to have controllers that show you all of these innards and not have RGB, which is an interesting point. At $89, you would expect this controller to have RGB, but really that's not the ethos of this controller. 1000 Hertz polling rate, mouse emulation, clicky switches, having remappable buttons, dedicated software to do it, AimLabs subscription, Xbox Game Pass subscription. It feels like this controller is very focused on features. I think you can actually get different plastic top plates to put on here. Probably you would want to stick with this one because it matches the rest of the color with the green and this sort of two-tone black and green thing here. I love this color because I'm a Hatsune Miku fan. On the back of the controller, I should probably point out, it doesn't have two back pedals here and two back pedals here. It has one back pedal here, and then instead of two back pedals, it has an extra shoulder button. So you have RB, RT, and R5. And while we're here at the back of the controller, you can see, like most controllers, you can click this little switch here, turn these into, again, more clicky switches. Basically, it's a mouse in the shape of a pad. So you've got more clicky switches here, or if you can switch those off and just turn them back into regular triggers. And these buttons, you can actually physically lock them off. These switches here, they don't just turn the buttons off. They actually physically prevent them from moving, which is really cool. And last but not least, there is a 3.5mm audio jack down here as well. All right, that's pretty much everything I have to say about the GameSir G7 Pro Aim Labs Edition for Xbox. I know that's a mouthful, but you have to be very careful because this is not the PC version, which has an 8K polling rate. That only has 2 vibration motors. This is the Xbox controller, which has 4 vibration motors, which actually allows that whole sort of dynamic impulse trigger type vibration stuff on the triggers. Now, I'm a little bit torn. Just pressing that button to switch seamlessly into mouse gyro control and then releasing the button and then going straight back to normal pad analog stick control. I absolutely loved that. And being able to do that on a controller that actually feels really nice to hold. It's got a bit of texture to these grips as well. And the button layout, I can use it with the dongle or on Bluetooth or wired. It's even got these little thoughtful things like this little thing that might prevent the USB cable from getting bashed and broken off. I'm actually frustrated because I like the controller so much that I wish that it was also a good fighting game controller. I have to keep stating this. No one ever said it was supposed to be a fighting game controller. They said, would you like to test out this pad controller? And I was like, well, I like to see if any pad controller could be good for fighting games, but I consider it a bonus. If it's a good pad controller and it can also be a good fighting game controller, that would be like the gold, amazing, best thing of all time. But at the moment, we usually have to wait for people to say, this is a fighting game pad, or this is an FPS pad with a really great D-pad. No one ever said that this was going to have a great D-pad, and it doesn't, unsurprisingly. I liked this G7 Pro, and I wanted it to also be a great fighting game controller. Unfortunately, it's just a great controller for everything else. Just mouse emulation. I just really loved that. Anyway, that's all I've really got to say about the G7 Pro Aim Labs Edition Xbox controller. If you've got any questions and comments about it, do let me know in the comments section below. That's all for today. I've been NihongoGamer. I'll see you real soon.